Hello and welcome to week 11, day 51 of the fall 2025 Web Development Technologies course. This is Jim Coppin with Rankin Technical College. So today we're going to go over the document object model. I'm going to show you how to create nodes and append them to a web document. And we'll go ahead and go through some of the system dialog boxes that you can also use. And also a browser pop-up window is basically an alert. We'll also look at creating an overlay that lays on top of a web document. And in addition to that, we'll also look at the browser object model, different than the document object model, right? The document object model is part of the browser object model, and the browser object model has some special functionality and properties that it has available that can be accessed. So we'll take a look at that as well. So what is the DOM? The DOM is a programming interface that represents an HTML document as a tree structure of objects. It allows JavaScript to access and manipulate the content, structure, and style of web pages dynamically. So why does the DOM matter? It helps you create dynamic content. You can change the page content without reloading. Interactive apps responds to user actions in real time. Create elements. You can build page content with JavaScript. And you can also manipulate styles. You can change the appearance dynamically. So some of the basics of building a web app kind of was part of the main components that your kind of the books talked about. So you basically got your HTML code, your CSS code, you have your JavaScript, and then you have data. Okay, obviously some other languages can be used and everything, but this is just basics from our perspective of the web technologies that we're using. Okay, data usually can come from external files, databases, APIs. API stands for Application Programming Interfaces. That's where you make calls to some external sources and you can receive data from that. It's possible to make calls to backend servers that also have databases as well. So there's lots of different options as far as app content from data sources. Understanding nodes and the node tree. So in DOM, everything is a node. A node is a distinct entity representing elements, attributes, text, comments, and other document parts. These nodes are organized in a hierarchical node tree. So basically the very top root is your document itself, okay? Then underneath that you have your HTML. Under HTML you have a head section and a body section. And underneath your body section, you can have multiple different tags. Here's just a few examples, having like a heading tag, H1 tag, paragraph tag, and here's a div tag. Node relationships. So nodes have familial relationships with each other. It's kind of the old parent-to-child type relationship, okay? And that's what we use to be able to access different parts of the document using JavaScript. We use nodes, and we follow kind of the parent-child type relationship. So the root is the top node in the tree, which is the document. The parent node contains the other nodes, and a parent can be different things. And a parent can have another parent, right? So you can create a div tag if you have a body tag, and you create a div tag and everything, and you have everything in that page under that div tag. Well, that div tag is the parent of all those other tags, right? But if the div tag's under the body tag, actually the parent of that div tag would be the body tag. Then it would be the HTML tag, right? So we'll take a look at that here in a minute. But then you also have different children, right? and these are nodes that contain within another. So like P elements are children. So a P element would be a child of the div tag, right? Div being the parent and the P being the child. And then you could also have multiple P tags, right? In this case, there's two P tags, right? So this is a sibling of this, okay? This one here is a sibling of this one. Okay, selecting nodes. So different ways to select nodes. Obviously, we've done get element by ID quite a lot. Some of these other ones you may be familiar with and maybe not so much. So here is how you can actually select by a class name. Here you can get elements by a tag name, right? Here you can use different selectors, and you can use what's called a query selector and a query selector all, right? This one here will give you the very first one, okay? This will give you the first one because you're doing it like this, right? If you have all here, it will give you all of the nodes, right? So basically all of the child elements of this, it will give you all the child elements of this, okay? If you use query selector all. So let's go ahead and go take a look at this a little bit. So in here, let's go ahead and just create a document. And within our document, let's go ahead and I'm going to just cut and paste a little bit from another document I have just to save a little time here. So here we've got, I'm doing something kind of similar to that example on that page, but here I am, I have 3 different P tags, okay? Here I actually used a class for these two because I just wanted to be able to show an example. This is not a real CSS class. I mean, I'm not referencing it any. I don't have CSS code, but I just wanted to put a class here to show you about how you can get them in different ways. Okay. So under here, let's go ahead and do a script tag here. And under here, I want to get the paragraphs, okay? I want to get these paragraph tags. So simple way to get paragraph tags. There's different ways to get things, right? But here's this kind of the simplest way. So to get the different paragraphs, I do document.getElementByTagName and do a P here, right? And maybe we'll do a console here. Console.log, and we'll do the paragraph here. And let's go ahead and take a look at that. Open with live server. Let me get this fixed up a little bit. We don't need all that room. Okay. And I'm just going to do an F12 here. And in the console, as you can see, and actually it is mentioned here, the get elements by tag name. By tag name returns an HTML collection. And as you notice here, it says HTML collection. It has the number 3 because it's returning 3 paragraph tags, okay? All 3 of those paragraph tags, that's the pound child 1, which is the ID child 1, ID child 2, and ID child 3, right? So that's all 3 of those. So that is showing that it's successfully getting those, okay? Let's see, what did I want to show you next on this? If we want to get, the other one was get element by class name, right? So we have a class name of text format here for these two, right? So if I go ahead and I can do it like this, let me just copy this over as well. I'm going to do a console.log on this as well. What do we call this here? So I'm going to do that. Okay. So over here on the left-hand side, the first one was that we've seen up here. The paragraphs, you had 3. Here you just have 2. And here's the IDs, child 1 and child 3, right? So it's child 1 and child 3. Obviously, you didn't get this one because that does not have the class of text format. Okay. Now you can also do, let's do this one here. All paragraphs. So I'm doing here, what I'm doing is kind of using a selector. So here I'm doing pound, if you recall from our HTML, pound, and and CSS, really CSS more than anything, right? The hash, right? The hash, # hash, or hash is for an ID. So we're looking for the ID container. Here's the ID container. Find me all p tags. Okay, so this will get all p tags. And let's go take a look at that real quick. And we'll go ahead and do these all paragraphs here. All right. So down here you see a node list of 3, and this is getting all 3 of these. Pretty much the same as collection, but as you can kind of notice, query selector, right? Query selector all returns a node list, where these other ones, the get elements, whenever you have get element, either by tag name, by class name, returns an HTML collection, right? Whereas the query selectors return node list. So something to keep in mind there on that. Now, if I change and get rid of all here, what will happen is it's only going to get the very first one. So I'm going to do that, and it's saving. As you can see, since it's just one, it prints out the whole tag. So it's just going to get the very first one. Okay. So, that's a common mistake. That's something, you really need to, watch out for. If you're doing so, expecting it to have all of them and it doesn't, well, you have to have all there, right? Let's go, let's kind of get rid of some of this, get this out of the way so it doesn't confuse us here too much. And we've got our paragraphs where we're getting our p tag there. Okay. Next thing, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and get this container. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this container by ID here. Okay. So I'm going to get the container by ID. And let's put a little space there. So we got the element. It's getting the element by ID of container, which is this. Okay. Now we have that. Now what we can do with that is, let's see. So this is the ID here. The ID of this div tag, right? So this one here, but let's just see, does this have a parent? So this does have a parent, it's body. So if we do element dot parent node here, maybe just put this part of a console here real quick and get that done there. As you can see, it printed out body here because the parent of element, which is the container, is body. What if we go ahead and go up one more level? You can go up one more level. Okay, and let's get another parent node here again. And now you can see it's basically the HTML tag. It's kind of showing everything here. It was showing body, it's showing all of this, but this is the parent now. Okay, what if we go up one more? We can go up just one more, right? Only one more here. And It's the document itself. So basically, the document, okay, is the uppermost parent, so to speak, the grandparent, the great great grandparent. Depends on how far you're down in the list, right? Depends on how many children you have, right? Um, so the here's the main parent, I guess, and then HTML is a child of the document. Underneath the HTML, you've got your body tag, right? And then after that, well, you have your head tag and your body tag, which are the children of the HTML. Underneath body, so most of the time, you're kind of referring more to, you're not going to be manipulating things generally here, but usually within your body tag, you're going to be manipulating things. A lot of times you also have container tags, which we've kind of used a lot. So, for our purposes right here, for now, our parent is going to be, for these different child tags here, this is going to be the parent, right? But just wanted to show you which, the whole parent and child relationship here. Okay, so we've got that. So let's use so elements are parent. Should we just call this parent? Let's call that parent, since we're not using that anywhere else there. I think we might be okay there. And what I want to do from there, so we have our parent, which is our container, okay? And then let's go ahead and get all the children, okay? So let's get all the children. So what we can do here is parent dot children. And you can start typing and it'll come. It didn't come up. Did I do that right? Yeah, it should. Unless I made a mistake. No, I didn't. So parent.children. Okay. So once again, you like get element by ID, just like I was showing you those other ones. They actually return a HTML collection. So here are your three. Same thing as up here, right? What we're seeing up here is the paragraphs, right? But here we're basically getting these paragraphs by doing this, right? Parent.children. So these are the three children of the parent, which is the container. Now we can also do first element child. That's going to get you the very first one right there, right? Then we can do the next element sibling. I think we can just do it like this, if I recall. So this time, what this is doing is, the parent is basically the container, getting the first child, which is the first paragraph tag there, then getting the next element sibling, which is child 2, right? So some other things we can do here also. We can get the last child of the parent there. Last element child. And there you go. Over here, you can see that, oh, that did some weird stuff there. But there it is right there. Maybe I'll get rid of this so it doesn't confuse. So that's your last element child. Okay, let's go back to the guide here a little bit. So we kind of looked at these right here. And you can also create brand new, you can use create element to create a brand new element, right? So in this case, you're using document.createElement to create a new div tag. Okay, and and you're assigning it to this a variable. Then you're creating a new paragraph, and then you're creating a new image. and it's kind of showing you how it's putting this all together. Um, this does mention about using a fragment. Your book does not talk about that. Um, I'm going to show you an example of creating a new image. We're going to do a new image. So I'm going to show you an example of that. Um, but I just want to point out this whole idea of using a fragment. So a document fragment was kind of a lightweight container. This is create document fragment for building complex structures before adding them to the DOM. It's more efficient than adding elements one at a time. So just something to keep in mind. Why use fragments? Adding elements one at a time causes the browser to repaint the page multiple times. Using fragment builds the structure in memory first, then adds everything at once, improving the performance. Okay. But I'm going to show you an example uh, of doing this, doing some of this stuff. We're going to create a new image. But real quick here, this is kind of showing you, it's creating a list, right? An unordered list. Here's a couple list items. Then it's setting some things on there, right? It's setting the text, right? It's setting the text on item 1, item 2, right? Then it takes the list, which is your unordered list, and appends this one and then appends this one, right? Then it's taking your list item and appending that to the body tag. That way, that's the only way, just creating this in itself, creating all of this is fine, but it's not going to show on your page until you append it to something that's already existing on your page, right? It's got to be appended in that way, okay? And so I'm going to show you an example of this right here. I'm going to kind of create a new image, create a new image tag, and I'm going to just use a Rankin photo, and I'm going to show you how that kind of works here. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Just make this big for a minute. All right. So here I'm going to, first thing I'm going to do is create a new element, right? So that's how you create any element. You can create a div tag, a paragraph tag, whatever. Use the create element. And for the image, what I'm going to do is I have a variable called new image, and I use this create element, and I use img for image, right? So that will create a new image tag. And then from there, I'm wanting to create a new div tag. And then under that, I need to I think, do I have an image? Yep, I got it already here. I've got this image, this Rankin image here. So I am going to I'm going to do our new image here. And if you recall, you kind of use that source attribute. So I'm going to use that source attribute, and I can just do it under here. So in the source attribute, I'm going to make sure that when you do something like this, you got your directory structure right. We got the images directory, right? This is at this level, all at the root level here. And the images is also at the root level. So I got images / rankin.png. So that will set the source on the new image tag. And then here I got this new div tag, and on my new div tag, I'm giving an ID of my div. And then I want to take and I want to append this image I want to append this image to this div tag. Okay, so to do that, I can do this. So here's my div. I append child and my new image. Okay, and so this new image will obviously include the tag itself, plus it will include that source, right? All of that will be there, right? Then the next thing I need to do is I need to append. So like I said just a few minutes ago, even though you do this, it's not going to reflect on the page yet, right? So let's just kind of go take a look real quick. Just to point this out, you don't see it here at all, right? But what we have to do is make sure that we append it to the body, to the body, or to, we have to append it to something that's already on this tag. We're just gonna append it right to the body, okay? So I'm gonna do document.body.append child in that new div, right? And that new div contains that obviously the ID, and it also includes the new image, right? And now if I save that and open with live server, and so there's our Rankin photo. And you can change other attributes as well, you know, such as height and width, etc. So in this case, we're setting an attribute source this way, but there's another way you can do it, which probably I would say would be kind of a more preferred, but I guess it's just more personal preference. So here I can do new image and do dot set attribute, just like that, and then I can do a width. Then give it a number. That looks good. And I'm going to do height here. Let's take a look at that. So you can see it's much bigger, right? Much bigger than what it was before. Just make sure. And there you go. So this is a good way to set attributes on it. I think it's a little more cleaner. You can do this, but a little more typing though. So that's another way to set attributes on a element, right? So on this new image element, so you can pretty much do any kind of attributes that are part of something, an ID, a class, a style. There's all kinds of different things that you can set, right? All right. So another thing you can do is remove the child. So we're appending this image. We can do document.body, and we can do a remove child, and we can pass in that new div. Obviously, you wouldn't be adding it and removing it, but there might be some certain circumstances where, based on some user input or some user clicking something, that you may remove something, add something, or remove something. But basically, that remove child would just like that, remove that very quickly there. So, okay. All right. Okay, next, let's go ahead and look at an overlay. And, you know, it takes a little work to do this. So basically, the JavaScript's not too bad on this. Um, some of the CSS for positioning and stuff gets a little complicated. Okay, I don't want to get too far involved in this. There are easier ways to do overlays, but just kind of this is the kind of the raw native way to do overlays. So here's a couple functions. You got show overlay, where you've got an overlay get element by ID of the overlay, which is right here, and then you're also getting your overlay image, okay, and then basically setting that to your image source, and then you're displaying block on that. And here's a hide overlay where you just go ahead and so you're displaying it, and then you can do the hide overlay by clicking the little X here. We'll hide it. Okay. You got a couple query selectors here. For that close, you click the close. It's going to call the hide overlay. Okay. The get overlay on click will go ahead and hide it here as well. So let's go ahead and just take a quick look at this. I don't want to spend too much time on this. So I'm going to open this with Live Server, and so here's a Rankin image that I have. If I click on this, it will create this overlay. Okay, and this is kind of like my screen. I just took a screenshot of my screen, my laptop screen. If I click this little X here, here's the original image. So by clicking this, opened up the overlay. Clicking the X, remove the overlay. Okay. All right. Browser object model. So let's look at the browser object model a little bit. So we have different options here. I really didn't show this one. Let me go show that one there real quick here. So yeah, let's look at some of the window pop-ups, different options there, and then we're going to look into some of the other BOM objects as well, such as history and location and so forth. So what do I have over here? So this is these dialog boxes. So here is what's called a user prompt. Okay. And so a user prompt is going to basically ask you to enter some data. It can have a default value. Okay. You're going to assign that to a variable. Okay. And basically you're going to be, it's always good to check to make sure that there's data there before you try to do something with it. But basically here we're getting the username as long as it's not empty, right? As long as it's not empty. Then we're logging it, but we're also doing document write, so it'll write it to the screen as well. Okay. If you canceled it, if the username's null, it's been canceled, then it'll tell you it's canceled. And this is just basic from the log file. So that is a prompt. So let's go look at a prompt real quick. So here is the prompt, and it has guest here by default. Let me just get rid of this. I don't think that would matter. If I hit cancel here, do you want to save your changes? Let's refresh this again. Guest, let's hit OK. It's actually doing two different things here. Please enter your username, hit OK. Do you want to save your changes? Hello, guest. Let me see what that's, let me review this real quick. Sorry about that. Yeah, I probably should have had this commented out right here, because it's just going to this other confirm, this going to another one here. So let me just real quick, let me just comment this out. Okay, so we can see this correctly here. So here, you put in guest, you can do OK, it'll say hello guest. I'm going to refresh the page. I'm going to put in my name this time. And I put in my name. It's going to say hello to, okay, I'm going to refresh it again. And if I hit cancel here, it's just going to do that. Let's see what it's in the log here. The console, user canceled the input. That was what was in the JavaScript code there. User canceled the input. So that is a prompt, right? So you're prompting for data. So usually you're going to take that data, you're going to do something with it, right? So we prompted for data. We just showed it on the screen, but you know, you may be doing a lot of other things besides just that, right? So that's that one. And let's go ahead and comment all that out. And let's get back and grab this one again. So here is a confirm message. So basically, a lot of times you use a confirm message, maybe where you're doing some functionality on a screen where you've got maybe some list of tables where you got data you're entering, you want to delete a row or something where you're doing something like that on a screen. And usually a confirm message is good for, you know, in this case is, do you want to save your changes, right? You may be doing something on a page and then you decide to leave and say, hey, you sure you don't want to save your changes? Another good reason, like I said, is for deleting, okay? So basically, is confirmed going to return kind of a true or false, right? It's going to either return a true or false. If it's true, then it's going to, changes will be saved, okay? If it's not, then it's going to be here, right? So true is going to go ahead and kind of go back to the thing here. It's going to choose cancel. Changes will be discarded, right? So look at that real quick. So here, basically, you're hitting OK. The other option is cancel. And if I hit F12 here on cancel, user chose cancel, changes will be discarded, right? I guess I could have just ran it from over here and so you could see it. Changes will be saved. Okay, so that's that type. Then obviously you probably have already know about alerts, right? Use this alert and then whatever you want to put in here, right? But an alert, you can't capture data or anything. I'm having some issues here. You can't capture data or anything. So we'll just run it with that other one still there. Hello, you just hit OK and that's it. Usually it's just some message you're given. You know, you can't save the message. It's not going to return true or false, right? It is used a lot for debugging purposes, right? For debugging purposes, you use alerts for debugging. With the console, with the opportunity to use a console and do the logging within the console, alerts probably best not to use them, but it is an option there. Alerts can provide some other, you know, little message here and there. But like I said, you can't save data. Like the confirm message, you know, it's going to return true or false. And the prompt message actually can return data that you put in there, right? But the alert basically just a message like that, and that's it, right? Okay. One other one I want to do here. So we can do a pop-up window. So let's look at that real quick. And so here, this is going to close this right away though. Here, let's see what happens here. Open server. It did this pop-up. Okay. Let's see what we got going on here. Maybe we should get rid of everything here. Let's close everything to the right before we do that. And let's just run this. Boom. Oh, pop-up blocked, right? So always allow pop-ups from that. You probably should be getting the same message. Depends if you allow it for everything. But I'm going to go ahead and hit done here on that. So let's try this again. If I hit refresh here, boom, here's your little pop-up window. Okay. There's no HTML here. There's nothing in here. Okay. And one way though, you could have some HTML on that. it can refer to a document, and then you can always page.html. So here let's do this, new file, page.html. And then here I'm going to do this. All right. And then I think I'm going to have something where we can, we'll put a little script in here. So we can close that window. I think I'll do a little timer here real quick. Actually, let me stop autosave so it don't keep up. Sometimes you keep on saving stuff, and if you got some JavaScript, will keep executing it. So I just wanted to kind of stop the JavaScript from executing. Once you do a save, it does a refresh sometimes on the or all the time on the using live server. So here I'm just going to create a function here called close window. And on this function, I am going to just do a window.close. And this is the pop-up window. Okay, this is the pop-up window right here. This is the pop-up window, page.html. We'll go back and look at that real quick here. So close window, window.close. And then I'm also wanting to do a, what it comes in here, I wanna call this function, but I want to do like a timeout. I want to let it kind of sit there just for a little bit. So I'm going to do a set timeout like this, and I'm going to then go call close window. Okay, and I am going to do 5,000 milliseconds. So this equals 5 seconds, right? 5,000 milliseconds equals 5 seconds. And so when this comes in, this page loads. When you click click that from the dialog box's HTML, it will go ahead and fire up this window, and then it will automatically call the set timeout. And so the set timeout will wait for 5 seconds, and then it will call this function called close window. Okay. Let's go back and look at this real quick. So this is our pop-up. Okay. Window.open, and hits page.html. So it will do this, and then it will call this. Okay. And then this should work fine. Let's take a look here. So there's our window, and within 5 seconds it should close, and there it did. So that's one way. I'm just kind of showing you an example. Why would you want to do that? You may have a little window, because you can actually customize that window as well. You can actually customize that windows as well, where you can actually get rid of other things in here and make it a little more condensed and have some kind of a message or thank you for your order, and that would pop up, and then it would close after a certain length of time. So there's different scenarios, business cases where you want to do something like that. Okay, so now let's look at some BOM stuff, which is the browser object model. Maybe we'll go look at the guide here for a minute as well. I think I have some extra windows open. Maybe I'll go ahead and get rid of some of this so it doesn't accidentally open here all on me. Okay. Let's check it. All right, let's get rid of that. Let's see here. Okay. So the browser's object model provides objects for interacting with the browser itself, not just the document, right? we've seen the pop-up window, right? And this is that window is part of the browser environment. It's not part of the document object model, right? It's part of the browser object model. So there's other functionality also where you can track history. You can go back. You can go forward in history. You know, like maybe you could set a button where you could go a button on your page going back or forward. You can, like this, will go back 2 pages in your history. Um, this checks your history.length. How many items do you have in your history? Let's see here, current URL. Yep, this talks about location as a full URL of what you currently have. Yeah, let's just fire this. Let me fire up an example and kind of show you all the kind of different information that's kind of available. So let's go take a look at that. So in here, let's look at all what we're grabbing here. So you can use these different, use the window object here and get the height of your window, the width of your window, and if you make that window smaller, the browser window smaller, it will reflect a these numbers will change based on how big you have your window. Okay, so we'll take a look at that as well. We're doing a lot of stuff. We're writing to the log here. So Navigator was kind of a Netscape Navigator was one of the very first browsers. They've kind of left that in there as far as for some reason. So they kind of call this Navigator. It's basically the browser. It's whatever browser you're using. The Navigator actually provides information about the browser. Okay, even though we're using Chrome or Edge or whatever you're using. It's still considered from the browser, from the perspective of these different different functionality that's available in the browser object model. It's called the Navigator. Okay. Also, you can see if you got geolocation is supported by the browser. You can get your current location, which is the current URL you have, right? In our case, it will be localhost, right? Let's see, and then also we can we'll move back and forth a couple times, and we'll see how you can it'll keep track of different history. And then also here's kind of a redirect where we're going ahead and doing a windows.location.href. We're going to a different URL. We're going to Google. So we can actually, by clicking a button, you can go, or, however you had something set up, you can do something where you can, within JavaScript, you can go to a different page, right? By redirecting, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at all of this, what's available here. Browser object model demonstration. We're about to show you the browser details. You're not going to see anything here unless you do an F12. So here's all the different browser details that are available. It's showing you your window inner height is 928. So here's these numbers. So if I make this window like a little smaller here, right? If I make this window a little smaller here and hit refresh, okay, you can see these numbers have changed, right? It's smaller, okay? So it's actually, you can using the different browser object, using the browser object model, you can determine what a user is doing, how big the user's screen is. All that is available to you, okay? So there's a lot of sophisticated things you could do if you're, if you have some requirement to do so, okay? Here is Navigator, which is just telling you this, it kind of just gives you these are all the different browser. This is kind of by default. It just lists all these things like this. Obviously, we're using Chrome here, okay? But tells you that you're on a Windows machine. So if you were on a Mac or something else, it would tell you that. So I'm on a Windows machine. The browser is online. It's telling you that you actually have access, right? Geolocation is supported by this browser. Um, Here is the current URL. This is I'm using the live, the live URL for within Visual Studio Code. And so it's telling you that this is the location, um, telling you the path of the document, and then also here's like your history, right? So here, let's go ahead and click over here on the right. Um, let's do this redirect, and it's going to redirect to Google, okay? And so now if I go back, and so I'm at a different page right now, right? I'm at a whole different page. So if I go back, I'm going back to here, and it's going to reload this, and you can see number of URLs in my session history is now 2, right? Um, just like if I did W3 schools here or something like that, right? And then I go ahead and click back from here. Now it's still going to say 2 because you're only like 2 levels. I'd have to do this, all right, and be here. And then if I did W3 schools from here, we're doing the W3C, sorry. So now I think I should go, so that I go back 1 is going back to Google. I go back again, and it's going to reload this. And now it's going to say your session history is 3, right? So you can track session, you can track URLs, geolocation, tells you a little bit about your browser and what platform you're running it on, plus your window height, width, etc. So there's a lot of functionality, a lot of information that's available that can be accessed. Okay, I think that's about all I really wanted to cover. You can look at moving things around a little bit as far as the DOM. Here's a DOM cheat sheet. How to add and move things, how to remove something. We kind of did that. I didn't talk about insert before. Okay, you can do insert before. You can add a class. So if you've got an element, you got a class for some element. You got a class list, right? The class list basically is just that class, right? That's on a thing. And so you can add another one. So obviously you can have multiple classes. So it will just add another class. Obviously you're not going to call it class. You're going to call it some styling, text format, whatever. So it'll add another class onto your element dynamically. Okay. And we looked at all the dialog boxes. Okay, so that's about all I have. Please let me know if you have any questions, and have a good day.